But for 30 years, if you look at every single metric, health, education, employment, the country has gone backwards. Every state-owned enterprise has been bankrupted. South African Airways used to be the best airline in Africa, bankrupt. Eskom, Electricity Supply Commission, we don't have enough electricity. We have load shedding, which means 4, 5, 6 hours a day we have no electricity. The rail network's destroyed. The ANC has destroyed our country, and it is a racist, kleptocratic, and ineptocratic government.
Rob Hersov of South Africa. You know, one of the beautiful things of coming to this conference is you meet people from all over the world. Everyone is going through their own experience, kind of personally and politically in their own countries. South Africa suddenly has gotten on the American map a little bit in the last week or so. But before we get to that, maybe if you could just give me a kind of 1-minute bio on who you are, how you sort of got into public life, and then we can hit the issues.
Sure. I'm 64 years old. I'm fifth generation South African, and I was born into real wealth in South Africa. My grandfather founded a big mining industrial business, and I spent my education in South Africa. I did university there, and I spent 2 years as an infantry officer in the South African Defense Force in the old days. Then I went to America, Goldman Sachs, Harvard Business School, and then I worked as Rupert Murdoch's right-hand man for 3 years in New York. I then went to Europe.
Wow.
More corporate life, founded Marquis Jet Europe, sold it in NetJets, and did various entrepreneurial things, had failure, success. And in 2017, after 31 years overseas, I went back to South Africa. And in addition to business, I became an accidental activist, a capitalist activist. I made a speech 3.5 years ago that went viral, calling out the government. And once I'd survived "you're a racist" card, because a lot of political people said, you may not like him, but he's not a racist. I have kept going, and I've become probably the only business person standing up and speaking out against the ANC government.
So talk to me about the ANC government and what has kind of put this now on the map from an American perspective, where South Africa is just not on the long list of countries that we talk about that often.
Well, I'm glad America's noticed. I really am, because we're on the edge of going into the abyss. The ANC, the Liberation ANC, in 1994, took control of the country. And they've been running the country with more than 50% of the vote for the last 30 years. And only last year, in 2024, in May, did they drop below 50%, were forced to form, it's not even a coalition, it's a group of political parties that have no mission statement and are not doing very much. But the ANC is no longer in control. But for 30 years, if you look at every single metric, health, education, employment, the country has gone backwards. Every state-owned enterprise has been bankrupted. South African Airways used to be the best airline in Africa, bankrupt. Eskom, Electricity Supply Commission, we don't have enough electricity. We have load shedding, which means 4, 5, 6 hours a day we have no electricity. The rail network's destroyed. The ANC has destroyed our country, and it is a racist, kleptocratic, and ineptocratic government.
So let's talk about the racist part, because obviously that's still, unfortunately, the word of the day. It's a little hard, I think, from an American perspective, for people to realize that a government could truly govern I guess it's not that hard in some sense, but that could govern in an actual racist manner when it comes to who's getting what services and what land, et cetera, et cetera.
140 race-based laws in South Africa, all anti-white. And 8 days ago, Cyril Ramaphosa, our president, signed into law, and just hear these 3 words, expropriation without compensation. And this is just the straw that broke the camel's back. There's been endless laws, anti-white, boiling us like a frog in a bowl. And all I can say is thank you, America, and thank you, Donald Trump, for taking notice, because we are on the edge of the socialist abyss.
So how do you guys get out of this? Obviously, there's a complex racial history there. How do you reverse some of this? I mean, that's an awful lot of laws, and
I don't think we can internally. We have to wait till the 2029 national election, and I don't think our economy will survive. It requires some external dynamic to change it. And I think Donald Trump and America taking notice and coming in swinging with a baseball bat may be that dynamic we need.
So when you saw over the last couple of years in America, wokeness infecting our systems, and suddenly we were focused on race and we were putting it into it was this very people who said we were systemically racist that were putting racism into the system in a systemic way. It must have given you a little concern about the direction we're going, as much as that's now been rolled back.
Well, we've been infected in South Africa with the evil woke mind virus way more than in America. We've got it times 2. And there's no momentum in South Africa to reverse it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So it's been like a miracle that Trump got elected and he's making these decisions to reverse this wokeness because, South Africa needs a big wake-up call and it isn't going to come internally.
What were those 3 words? It was expropriation
without compensation.
So this is in essence, they're taking farms.
Well, they
right?
can.
Yeah.
So they haven't implemented it yet. It's been signed into law.
Yeah.
And it's not just farmland, it's property. They can take the watch off my arm and they barely need to justify it. I mean, I liken it to having a loaded gun in the bedroom with kids running around. At some point, somebody's going to pull the trigger. And that's what this law is. And there's so many other laws in South Africa that are anti-white, race-based, and make it almost impossible for businesses to thrive. But worst of all, we're at less than 1% economic growth. Less than 1%. And we have the highest unemployment in the world.
Oh, that's not
sustainable.
sustainable.
40%. It's unsustainable. And the only way to reverse that is to have, a complete change of plan. We need a Malay. We need a Javier Malay or a Trump.
So when Trump put out that post on Truth Social about a week ago, basically saying that, in essence, that it was basically, I don't want to paraphrase it, but something to the effect of white people are being treated unfairly. I mean, that was basically the thrust of it. What do you want him to do? Okay, so it's on the map now. So what do you want to come of it?
He needs to, and I'm very grateful he's focused on us, and I want to thank all the Americans for this. He needs to force the ANC government to reverse these racial laws. Do you know that most African countries have Starlink? Elon Musk Starlink. We don't, because we have a law that every business in South Africa has to have 30% black ownership. And Elon Musk said, I'm not handing over 30% because I have to. We don't have Starlink.
It's insane.
So every piece of pressure America and Trump can put on South Africa, I think they need to do, but need to go way further than tariffs and canceling AGOA agreements. They need to focus on sanctions and please put all the bad guys, the leaders of the ANC, EFF, which is very bad news, and MK parties, put them on the terrorist list, put them on the no travel list, ban their bank accounts, put maximum pressure on South Africa because China won't come to the rescue of the ANC. China is not going to pick a fight with America over South Africa. They'll back off. And remember, the ANC government has been bribed by Iran to file the case against Israel in the International Court of Justice, paid by Iran. So our ANC government has poked America in the eye for the last 15 years, voted against America on every issue in the United Nations, and it's payback time.
Tell me one great thing about your country.
The people. The 2 richest people in Los Angeles are South African born. Elon Musk, Patrick Soon-Shiong. We are the best entrepreneurs
we've got
in the
them
world.
now. We've got them now.
You keep taking them.
Yeah.
I don't blame them for going. But thank you, America, for everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep it up. Up the pressure, please.
Thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Dave, thank you.
If you're looking for more eye-opening and worldly conversations, make sure to dive into our international playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a wide variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.